Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks. Sorry for the delay for this. I was actually a little busy this week. Seeing some people I haven't seen in a while, taking in some good food and some good atmosphere. Had a very, very fun, interesting weekend. So, we're going to do this here today on a Sunday. Very rare. Probably won't happen again, as we take a look at the week that was in pro wrestling. Now, no Raw this week, sorry to say. I actually went to the movies that day. So instead, we're going to mainly focus on NWA Power and AEW Dynamite. Not going to look at SmackDown, Rampage, or Collision, because Friday, I was actually out. Seeing some people I haven't seen in a while, having some dinner. And then Saturday was Money in the Bank. I'll be reviewing that tomorrow. Stay tuned for that one, because I may get pissed off. Anyway, so we're going to start off this week looking at NWA Power. We start off with the Family Jewels ladder match, in which you climb the ladder, grab the Family Jewels, and you have the opportunity to kick your opponent in the Family Jewels. A kind of weird stipulation. Now, it was supposed to be Eric Smalls versus Rolando Friedman, but Rolando came out in a sling, reveals not clear to medically compared to compete. Instead, you're going to take on this man, 1/3 of the Spectaculars. It's Slade. And I'm going to say this, Slade dominated most of this match, considering he's, way bigger. But eventually Smalls did fight back after a little bit. Smalls then sets up the ladder, goes up to grab the jewels. In comes Rolando with a big old low blow. Actually, Smalls was going for a, rope attack, where he runs into the rope and springboards. Rolando with a low bridge. Then Slade and Rolando start beating up Eric Smalls on the outside. Out comes Knox and Murdoch to run off Rolando and Slade. They help Smalls get into the ring. Then Trevor Murdoch puts Eric Smalls on his shoulders, tries to climb up the ladder, in which this is the smallest ladder I've ever seen in my life. Looks like Murdoch was about to break it. Then Rolando hits a chop block on Trevor Murdoch. Slade then goes up, grabs the Family Jewels, and wins the match. In terms of a wrestling match, it wasn't bad, but this was a very, very weird match, especially with the replacement. Maybe we'll get Rolando versus Smalls down the line. But yeah, this was a weird comedy match, which we didn't even get to see the result. I guess that's coming in a week or so. I don't know. It's weird. Next up, we got a title match as Tom Latimer defends his national title against Zion. And this was a really, really fun match. Real surprisingly technical, especially for Tom Lawler, who is known as a brawler. They even brought up his time in TNA, which is insane. Again, nice little back and forth. Near the end, Latimer gets Zion in the crossface. Zion gets out, tries for a roll-up, only gets a 2, rolls right into the brighter side of suffering for Tom Latimer to get the win and retain his title. Definitely a step up from the opening match. And we'll see who actually gets to dethrone Tom Latimer. I'm excited to see what's next. And our main event for Power. It's the Crockett Cup first of two Crockett Cup semifinal matchups, as we have Knox and Murdoch taking on the Southern Six, which is Kerry Morton and Alex Taylor, in which Taylor is actually the junior heavyweight champion. So, we'll see how this goes. Definitely before the bell rings, Southern Six attack Knox and Murdoch. They brawl on the outside for a little bit. Then we get Knox and Kerry Morton to start us off. And it was just a bit of a beatdown for the Big Brawlers, including a crazy crossbody from Mike Knox. Eventually, Knox and Kerry get back in. Knox just starts beating the heck out of Kerry Morton. They go for the Knox and Murdoch go for the high-low finish, but Alex Taylor pushes Kerry Morton out of the way, getting smushed himself. Kerry Morton with a jawbreaker. Goes for a suplex, gets blocked. And then Murdoch had Kerry Morton on the ropes, looking for a big old slingshot suplex. Instead, Ricky Morton, who is the manager of the Southern Six, pulls Trevor Murdoch's legs out from under him, which leads to Kerry Morton landing on Trevor Murdoch for a cover and a win by the Southern Six. This was definitely a smart move by the Southern Six. Both these teams are now 1-1 against each other. What's going to happen in a rubber match? I guess we'll see in the future. This was definitely an exciting episode of NWA Power. We've got one half of the finals of the Crockett Cup ready and waiting. We're just looking for the other side, which is Immortals versus BFT. Oh, that's going to be a good one. Can't wait. So that was NWA Power. A very interesting episode, we'll say. And now we go to AEW Dynamite, in which we start off backstage with a Daniel Garcia promo, calling tonight's main event the most important moment of my life. And while I have mad respect for you, Will Ospreay, you also wanted this. Then before Garcia can continue, in walks MJF, who says, "Look, kid, you gotta focus tonight. I'm gonna be out there in your corner for your match." Garcia then walks off. Matt Menard gets in MJF's face. He says, thank you for everything you've done for this company. And let's go out there and do it. So, definitely an interesting little start to this show, which, we'll see what happens later. As we got our first of two semifinal matches for the men's Owen Hart Cup, as Bryan Danielson takes on Pac. And oh boy, these two absolutely lit it up. This was a fun old match. Plenty of really good graps. Also some high flying from Pac, including a missed Black Arrow. Bryan with a Busaiku knee, only for a 2 count. Pac then locks in a Brutalizer. Bryan with the roll-up, only gets a 2. Bryan with a label lock. Pac with a roll-up, only gets 2. Bryan with a final roll-up to pick up the sneaky win. This is definitely Bryan Danielson's tournament to win. And, that was a great opening match. Flawless. If you haven't seen Dynamite in a while, go check out this match. We then go backstage, checking on Daniel Bryan. Actually, the ringside doctor actually goes in the ring to check on Bryan, who's down. Hope he's okay. Then we go backstage for a Willow Nightingale interview, who pretty much says, look, my motto is just smile through. It's words to live by. But when I come in the back after a big loss, I have myself a good cry. And it's clear I pissed everyone off. And Statlander, I never needed your appreciation. But I'm going to fight through this depression. I'm going to prove I'm the best. While I got knocked down, I get back up. And I'm going to be the first ever 2-time Owen Hart Cup champion. And Statlander, I'm going to go out there, kick your butt, and make it happen. So that nice fired up interview from Willow Nightingale. She's personally, she's already won me over. I hope she has for you too, because she's the best. We then get a promo from Mark Briscoe, who says and actually it's an in-ring promo, says he's here tonight representing the Briscoes. While everyone does call me chicken, I'm not scared of shit. And so, at Forbidden Door, I came close to becoming champion, but Perry took it. I'm not worried about last week. This week is Shark Week, and when I think of sharks, I think of blood and guts. So I'm going to declare myself the first member of Team AEW for Blood and Guts. And before he can continue, Jack Perry comes in from behind, hits him with the TNT title belt. Kyle O'Reilly comes out, tries to stop Jack Perry, but out comes Kazuchika Okada, hits a Rainmaker on Kyle O'Reilly. Beatdown continues with the two of them. Young Bucks come out, they join in, hit an EVP trigger on Mark Briscoe. But who makes the save? It's the Acclaimed. They've arrived. So, definitely an interesting promo. We're building the Blood and Guts, which is always going to be fun. And we got our first member of Team AEW, which, got 4 other spots left. The Elite have 1 more spot, although we're going to get to that in a little bit. So, we'll see. We then go backstage for a Toni Storm interview, claiming she knew she would win on Sunday. Then they turn to Mariah May, who has Sheeta coming this week. With May saying, look, I'm going to deliver that win, and I'm going to prove I'm worthy of Toni Storm. Then Toni takes Mariah May's face, puts it at eye level with her, saying, you are worthy, and there's not a damn thing she can do to stop you. So, definitely an interesting promo from Toni Storm and Mariah May. We'll see what's in store for May in the future. We then go to our first semifinal match of the Owen Hart Cup, that being on the women's side, as it's the 2 Long Island ladies battling it out as Chris Statlander takes on Willow Nightingale. And as Willow is making her entrance, Chris Statlander runs up the ramp. They brawl on the ramp for a bit. Willow with a big old pounce on the ramp, which that was awesome. Eventually, Willow gets Statlander back in the ring. Bell rings, and we are off. And Willow does have an advantage for a while, but then Statlander with an eye rake. Willow throwing Statlander around is just the funniest thing ever, with a couple of beels. Willow with a cannonball off the apron, that was insane. Gets back in the ring, goes for the big power bomb that gets blocked by Statlander, who gets a kick and then an axe kick, only for a 2 count. Statlander looking for the pile driver. That gets blocked into a roll-up for only a 2 count. Statlander with an F5 only for a 2 count. And as they're both laying there, Stokely Hathaway, who is the manager of Statlander, brings out a chain, leaves it on the apron for Statlander. Statlander then picks it up, wraps it around her fist, about to strike Willow. Willow ducks it. Willow with the roll-up to pick up the win. And that was definitely an interesting little matchup. Glad Willow won. And, we're getting in the finals for the Owen Hart Cup for the women. Spoiler alert, it's going to be Mariah May versus Willow Nightingale. That's going to be a fun one. So, next up, we go to the back, an interview with Jeff Jarrett and, his posse, which there's a ton of them. And as, the interviewer is talking about the Owen Hart Cup, Jeff Jarrett walks off along with Karen and Satnam Singh, leaving Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal to conduct the interview. So Jay Lethal steps in, pretty much says, the important part, Jeff is prepared for tonight, and he's ready to honor one of his best friends, Owen Hart. So, definitely going to be interesting to see what Jeff Jarrett has to offer, and we're going to get to that a little later. First up, we got a Dr. Britt Baker DMD interview. She has a nice little embrace with Tony Schiavone, which is always cool to see, considering they're really friends. With Dr. Baker pretty much saying, look, I missed you guys. I thought about what I was going to say out here, but I'm going to talk to you guys about 3 things we all have. Past, a present, and a future. My past, the last 10 months, you asked, where's Britt? I've suffered more than a few torn discs to keep me away. And every morning I look in the mirror and said I was good until I wasn't. Something didn't feel quite right. I spent the week in the hospital, and apparently I had a mini stroke. And there was a medical term for it. I couldn't really get it in time. I'm sorry. Then next time I looked myself in the mirror, I said I was not good. So I called up Tony Khan and said I needed to stay home a little bit longer. Tony answered, yeah, sure, take that time. Now we move on to the present. I'm here, I'm cleared, and I'm healthy. And I've never been welcomed warmer or harder than I did at Forbidden Door. I felt the fear of rejection before I went out. But when I needed you guys most, you welcomed me back with open arms. And know I will always be in your corner. And now finally we move to the future. When you're going through hard times, be present. Go through to the other side. And I've heard there's a new female face of AEW. I'm glad this has been so rewarding for her. Building the company from the ground up. And the letter CEO. She must have worked so hard to earn those 3 letters. And you don't need music to repeat that the only 3 letters that matter in AEW are D, M, D. And as she's about to leave, we see a car roll up in the parking lot. Out comes Mercedes Moné. She bumps into the Young Bucks, who say, the CEO. Someone we actually can get behind. And I've seen a lot of discourse about that comment saying, oh, it's overly sexual. They're sexualizing Moné. Shut your mouth. They're not doing that. They're teasing an alliance, and maybe Monet joining the Elite, which I say yes. Anyway, Young Bucks pretty much tell Monet, your championship celebration is just about underway. You go get him. So Monet walks into the arena, and as that's happening, while Britt Baker is still standing in the ring, these stagehands come out, set up balloons, dump them in the ring, and then Monet comes out to her music, gets in the ring, grabs a microphone, turns, sees Britt Baker, who says, "Whoops, did I interrupt something?" And then Baker replies, "I get it. I outshined your moment at Forbidden Door. Now you're doing the same to me here. I should have known you would try to steal my spotlight. Well, get a good look at what a real star looks like. That's Monet." Dr. Breaker replies, "All in. I wrestled at the first All In pay-per-view before AEW was a thing. I was the first female roster member to sign with AEW. I wrestled at Wembley Stadium at All In last year while you were up in the crowd, broken. I wanted to wrestle you at All In. So let's do it." Monet replies, "Sorry there, Baker. There's a long list of girls waiting, so why don't you get to the back of the line, bitch?" Dr. Britt Baker then replies, "Bitch, what line?" Then they kind of have a little face-off, and Monet brings the microphone back up to her mouth, saying, "There's a price to pay when you mess with Monet." Oh, I've been looking forward to this match for some time. I know a lot of people wanted Hater, but Dr. Britt Baker versus Mercedes Moné for the TBS title? Yes, please. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. And it's just the big match All In needed. Not to say All In isn't going to be fantastic, but they definitely needed a big match like this. Then we go backstage for a Will Ospreay interview. Before he can get some words out of his mouth, Don Callis comes in. Pretty much says, "Look, you're going to win this match. This whole thing with the AEW World title is my fault." Ospreay then replies, "Look, I couldn't bring myself to hit the Tiger Driver. You gave me the torch. My life has changed. But I want out of the Don Callis family." What? Don Callis then replies, "Look, I'm not in a habit of letting people out of the family contract, but I'm proud of you, and I'm happy to do you this favor. Then, some point in the future, you'll do me a favor." So, that was unexpected. Will Ospreay no longer in the Don Callis family. So it looks like Ospreay is turning for a babyface turn, which could be interesting. Then we get a Chris Jericho in-ring promo. He brings out some security guards. Gets in the ring. He says, "Well, I wasn't scheduled for this show, but I gotta have my TV time." And I wanted to talk about Sunday, where an ultimate sign of disrespect was shown when someone stole my finisher to beat me. And Taz, your support is supposed to be unbiased. And I spoke to the Young Bucks backstage. So tonight I cannot be around you. Taz, you're done with your announcing duties tonight. But I'm also going to have to ask you to leave the arena. So Taz takes off the headset, puts it down, lies the paper in front of his seat, gets up, leaves through the crowd, surrounded by security. Okay, that's interesting. Then Jericho takes his place for this next matchup as it's 6-man tag team action players as Samoa Joe, Katsuyori Shibata, and Hook take on Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony. And this match was a whole lot of fun. Like, big guys doing their big guy thing. Joe and Brian Cage have some really good chemistry. Like, they are super good together. A lot of really, really good back and forth. Eventually, the babyfaces get their submission finishers in. Hook with the red rum, Joe with the coquina, Shibata with the camel sleeper hold to get a big submission win. Yeah, definitely a little short match, but it was a whole lot of fun. Post-match, out comes Big Bill and Brian Keith, who attack the baby faces. We then see Brian Keith take off his sling he has been wearing since before Forbidden Door, obviously feigning an injury. Chris Jericho then comes in, starts beating on Hook, including with chair shots, gets the FTW title belt shot. Then Big Bill takes something out of his pocket. It's a pair of brass knuckles, hands it to Jericho, puts it on, big old strike to Hook. Then Brian Keith gets a cake table from the outside. Learning Tree set it up. Big Bill chokeslam through the table. That was a nutty segment, and I'm gonna say this: the Jericho stuff is growing on me a little bit, but I need a week without Jericho. Just give me one Dynamite without Jericho for once. Next up, we got the next matchup in the men's Owen Hart Cup tournament as Jeff Jarrett takes on a wild card who turns out to be recently returned former AEW champion Hangman Adam Page. And Adam Page came at Jeff Jarrett like he was showing his aggressive side today. Like, he was pissed off. About halfway through, Hangman goes for the Deadeye. That gets countered by Jeff Jarrett. Gets a stroke off of the apron, which, that was insane. Eventually, they do both beat the 10 count for a count out. Jeff Jarrett then goes for the figure 4. That gets blocked. Hangman with a big old enziguri, only for a 2. Jeff Jarrett goes for the stroke again. That gets blocked. Hangman goes for the Deadeye. That gets blocked. Jeff Jarrett trying for a sharpshooter. That gets blocked. Hangman Adam Page with a Deadeye goes for the buckshot lariat, but before he can springboard, Jeff Jarrett just collapses. Then Hangman with a big boot goes for the buckshot lariat. That gets blocked into the sharpshooter. Adam Page makes it to the ropes. Eventually pulls himself up, hits the buckshot lariat. Doesn't go for the pin. Instead goes for a ground and pound, punishing Jeff Jarrett. Eventually, the ref pulls Hangman Adam Page off of Jeff Jarrett, sets him up one more time for the Deadeye to pick up the win and move on in the tournament. So we're getting next week Hangman Adam Page versus the American Dragon Bryan Danielson in the Owen Hart Cup Finals. Yes! Oh, that match is going to be awesome. I can't wait. I hope you can too. We then go backstage for a medical update on Hook. We see Hook getting tended to by the trainers. Then in comes the Learning Tree again to attack Hook in the office, and we see something we haven't seen in a while. Chris Jericho with a big old fireball right to Hook's face. So, I don't know if they're writing off Hook, but something interesting is happening there. We'll see. We then go backstage to a Hangman Adam Page interview. He's seething. He's pacing. Before he can let anything out, in come the Young Bucks, who are celebrating Hangman Page's return. Congratulations on your win. It's clear we lifted your suspension. So, as long as we continue to scratch your back, you need to scratch ours. So, we got Blood and Guts coming up soon. Will you be our fifth man? And before Nicholas can continue, Hangman grabs him by the collar and says, I don't want to play any more of your games. I'm going to win the Owen Hart Cup on my own. And yeah, that was intense. So, like everyone else, I thought Hangman Adam Page was going to join the Elite for Blood and Guts. Turns out that's not the case. So, gonna be interesting to see who the Young Bucks, Okada, and Jack Perry recruit. I mean, Adam Cole wasn't hurt. I could have seen him. But I guess we'll see. And Vine Alamo, we got our main event of the evening, and it's for the AEW International title, as Will Ospreay defends against Daniel Garcia. And oh my god, this was a masterclass in pro wrestling. This was absolutely awesome. Really good back and forth. Made Daniel Garcia look like $1,000,000. One point, Daniel Garcia goes for the Red Cross, which I guess that's his finish. Ospreay with the pile driver, only a 2 count. And as Ospreay is kind of recovering from that moment, MJF takes off his Dynamite Diamond ring, gives it to Garcia. Garcia's kind of looking at it. He's not sure what to do. He gives the ring back. Surprise roll up from Ospreay, only gets a 2. Actually, not quite yet. Ospreay with a roll up, only for a 2. Big old clothesline by Garcia, who then goes back into the corner. Just looking at the Dynamite Diamond ring. Hands it back to MJF. Then Ospreay with a hidden blade from behind to pick up the win. And, Ospreay's celebrating. He's celebrating the big win. Then he sees Garcia in the corner, sitting in the corner, and he's crying. Which, don't see that often. Dang. So then Ospreay goes to the corner. He's like, no, you did great. You're going to have another opportunity someday. But clearly I was the better man. So then Ospreay picks Garcia up, raises his hand. The entire time MJF is on the apron. He's seething. So then Ospreay then leaves. MJF gets in, talks to Garcia saying, no, you did great. MJF then helps Garcia up. They have a nice little embrace. MJF then sets Garcia within arm's reach. Low blow right to the family jewels. Then MJF puts the Dynamite Diamond ring on. Matt Menard tries to come out to make the save. One shot KO from MJF. And then MJF sets off on Garcia. And this was a beatdown. Security guards try to come in and break it up. MJF just decks them all off. Goes back to Daniel Garcia. Boom, 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 boom. Gets him up onto the middle rope for a middle rope pile driver. Which, that was crazy. Officials come out. They try to stop it. MJF with a pile driver to one of them. He pushes all the officials out of the way. Continues the beatdown on Daniel Garcia. Then Ospreay comes back out. Runs off MJF. And we see Daniel Garcia being taken off via the stretcher. Like, good lord, that match was awesome. But the aftermath, telling this story, turning MJF heel again, which, honestly, I think is the better move. Like, don't get me wrong, I do like the progression MJF and Adam Cole made. MJF serves me better as a heel, I think. And, stuff like this, it's what made MJF interesting. And I'm glad we're going back to this, because, honestly, sooner rather than later, we're getting MJF versus Will Ospreay, in which, yes, please. Yes. Alright, that'll do it from me today. I hope you all enjoyed. Tomorrow will be my Money in the Bank review. I hope you guys tune in for that one. And should be back to regularly scheduled programming this week. Till that time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.